Oh, hey everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Old Reader, New Reader. I'm Amanda. That over there is Maddie, drinking her Diet Coke, something, I don't know.
It's
And
Chinese herbal tea.
Chinese herbal tea, probably healthier than anything else I mentioned. And then there's Omar, who's our resident Old Reader.
Hello.
And today we are going to be talking about Jason Aaron's Thor, God of Thunder, issues 1 through 25. So we're really excited to do this. It's been a great day for Marvel, and we're excited to get into talking about the 9 realms. So, Omar, why don't you kick us off with a little bit of background about it?
Yes. Oh, well, first of all, why has it been a great day for Marvel? What's going on?
Because
what are you talking about?
What am I talking about? If anyone doesn't follow the Oscar nominations like I do live, Black Panther was nominated for 7 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, Original Song, Score, and then Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse was nominated for Best Animated Feature, which it will win. And then you guys will be able to hear me scream throughout the 9 realms because I'm going to be so excited when I watch that thing win. And
Don't get your hopes up with that, though.
Oh, no, it has to. It's won every other award.
Listen. The Academy does not watch animated films. They've said before they don't watch it. They will literally give it to Incredibles 2. But I hope for you. I hope for you that it gets it.
I hope so.
Let's not forget Spirited Away did win one year.
Yeah. So. Yeah. And literally a million other movies also the years after should have won.
Yes. Well, yeah. The only benefit, the only thing I have is that it's won every other single animated feature award, all the Critics' Choice, everything else, Golden Globes, you name it, Visual Effects Academy, all those stuff. It's already won all of those. So my hope is that, anyways. And then, of course, even Avengers: Infinity War got a nomination for Best Visual Effects. And if you look at the other people in the category, First Man, I mean, what else is nominated? Nothing else that I think could even come close. Solo, a Star Wars story, which I just watched over the weekend and was not that great. So, yeah, Avengers is probably going to pick that up. It's a great day. Marvel's awesome. Let's talk about Thor.
That was the longest answer, but the shortest answer, if you know Amanda. Yes, we are going to be talking about Thor, God of Thunder. These 2 books right here, issues 1 through 25. They're also available in trade paperback. I know Volume 1 is sold out of this, and everybody's expecting an omnibus, including myself, who will double dip, because Unworthy Thor is not available in oversized format, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, so this run, though, right, like, aren't they releasing like a bigger version of that this year?
They're in June or July. They're coming out with a complete collection of Jason Aaron's Thor. So everybody's upset because they were like, "Where's the omnibus?" But Marvel likes to milk that cash cow, so they'll sell that first. I say after he gets finished with his run, because he's on his last arc, he will get he'll get the omnibus treatment. I mean, every other book that he's done for Marvel has gotten on omnibus format, so. It's a sure thing coming. So this all started out as part of the all new Marvel right after Fear Itself, Matt Fraction's run, right after X-Men versus Avengers or Avengers versus X-Men. They gave the writing duties to Jason Aaron, and holy crap, is it this book, this series, by the way, we also talk about spoilers in here just to give you guys a heads up, is so new reader friendly. I think somebody in the chat suggested it last week. That's why I was like, yes, that's a good idea. There are other. It's one of my favorite runs on Thor, and this is one of the few books I do keep up with monthly. So it's nice to go back to the beginning and read about it again. So let's start off with Volume 1, which is the God Butcher and the God Bomb storyline. It's 12 or 11 issues. With Thor. So I will let one of these ladies tell you a little bit about it. Let's start off talking about the God Butcher.
Maddie,
I'll jump in because this is my favorite part. So this portion was you basically it goes back and forth between 3 different Thors. So you have the Thor of the present era, which is Thor the Avenger, and then you have Thor before he even got Mjolnir. So he's a wee bab, but not really wee bab in God terms, but hanging out with the Vikings, so that era. And then you have Thor at the end of his life, presumably, when he's All-Father Thor. So at that point, Odin is no longer All-Father, and Thor is All-Father, and has been for, I don't know, a very long time. So the main villain of this era was it Grom? Is that his name?
Gorr the God Butcher.
Gorm. I'm getting my letters switched up. Gorm, and he's the God Butcher. So basically, it starts out, you're seeing little bits and pieces where you're learning that someone is going around and killing gods. And basically, this whole arc focuses on each Thor's interactions with this God Butcher, and how you kind of just see how it's kind of he stayed around. So it's an interesting concept, because like, you see this God Butcher in each timeline, right? So you still know, or not each timeline, but each part of time, and so you know that he continues to live. So you're seeing Thor battle Gorm. Did it again? Yes.
Gorr. Yeah.
Gorm. Okay. And but you know that that's not the end of it, which is really interesting. And honestly, like, every bit is written so well, and you can really see not just like the differences in time, but also the differences in Thor, like how he's grown and how he's characterized, which is a big deal, because you could just make him the same. Like any writer could just be like, well, he's just the same, he just looks older, or different stuff has happened to him. But Jason does such a good job with this. So yeah, we can talk more particulars about this, but that's the gist. But basically, like, you see different portions of the time where like Thor actually thinks he defeats him a couple times, but ends up getting captured by him. And then you're still dealing with him in present time. And at the end, Thor is the only god left. And the Butchers killed all the other gods, and it's just Thor by himself. Well, killed or enslaved all of them. So at some point, he brings the three of them together at the end, and they have to fight him. And it's such a good arc. It is so good. I loved.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I would be getting into with this. Like, I've said to Amanda and Omar before, and maybe I've said so on the show as well, maybe during Hick Avengers, but like, I love the Avengers movies. I love a lot of Marvel stories, but I've yet to really bond with like a main Marvel hero, like a main Avenger. Unlike me with DC, which I love Superman, I love Batman. Like, I've really connected with those people, and this is my first time that I was like, oh shit, like, I'm a Thor fan. It's arrived. Here it is. Like, this is exactly my type of thing. But yeah, so what did you guys think about this first arc?
So we'll talk about the first 11 issues, the God Butcher and God Bomb. Go ahead, Amanda.
Yes. Yeah. So what I think I liked most about it, and we actually see this this type of narrative, this is what Jason Aaron does throughout, is a combination of past and present, and you see those sometimes side by side, sometimes one issue, sometimes another issue. And I think that's what I love about it, seeing Thor learning these different lessons, especially in the God Butcher. I loved the interaction between old Thor, young Thor, and middle-aged Thor, because old Thor is just like, these guys, he's like, was I really like that in my youth? Like, this is ridiculous. He just had,
and each of them is like, Dad? He's like, oh my God, I'm not your father. Like, it's you.
Yes, and it's interesting. Gorr brings up an interesting point. I mean, so throughout in the 11 issues, we do get a background of Gorr the God Butcher. We figure out, he
sympathy issue.
Sympathy, right? Yeah. So the sympathy issue. So you can see where the villain is coming from. Who, I'm not gonna lie, guys, the way he was drawn looked a little bit like Voldemort to me. I just couldn't get it out of my head.
I think that was Jackson Guice that did that one issue. Either Jackson Guice or Butch Guice. Oh, Butch Guice, and it was inked by Tom Palmer.
He reminded me more so of Thanos' goon who does the interrogations. Like the one who
Ebony Maw?
Yeah, Mosey Ebony Maw.
Yeah. Oh, I can see that too. Yep. Well, interesting thing about that, side note, is that in the international versions of Avengers Infinity War, instead of saying Squidward, he calls him Voldemort, because apparently they don't know about SpongeBob. I don't know. Anyways, but he brings up some very valid points about, this is a really interesting commentary on gods and, people praying to gods, things like that. So I thought behind all of this, there's a really interesting story going on here, that it's not just about Thor redeeming himself and, figuring things out. It's there's some interesting commentary going on behind this. So I really like this segment. I like seeing his granddaughters in action, the Ladies of Thunder, the Girls of Thunder.
They were so good.
So awesome. And obviously we'll get to spoilers later on, but you see a lot of these characters later on in the series as well, which is great. Little pieces here and there. So I overall just enjoyed this section. I mean, I enjoyed the entire arc, but I really enjoyed this section as well.
And I also really loved, I don't know if this fits into this portion or not, but there's a bit right at the end where you just see present day Thor, just like how he's acting after all this happens, where he's trying to be the best god
on Earth.
Yeah, and he's going out and he's helping all these people, and you can tell that it's like from a god level of responsibility and not just one of a superhero, because you see superheroes do this too, right? Like, fulfill like requests and help people and just try to go where they can be at all times. But it felt so different after this arc finished and after they defeated the Butcher. It just felt, I don't know, so much more powerful to see him like really do his best, because you could tell it got to him. He's like, I need to be the best god I can be. Like, I can't just let this sit. I can't just be one of those gods that doesn't help the people that reach out to him. And I remember, oh man, I'll have to see, but I got a little emotional during that portion, and it wasn't even anything sad. It was just really touching moments with all of that.
Was it the one of the touching moments, and I don't know if Omar, because he has the volume, could pull it up. It's issue 12, so it's right after all this, and he meets with Jane Foster.
Yes. Yeah, oh God, Jane.
That image when he takes her on top of the planet. Oh, beautiful.
God, everything with Jane was so. I mean,
yes.
And I had read Mighty Thor before, and I didn't get into that into it. But when I went back and read this, man, I am team Jane Foster.
This image right here.
God.
Yeah, I love that. Yes.
I think a lot of it has to do with the dialogue too, when he says,
Yes. You sure I can't call you a biomancer?
Well, he's talking about how breathtaking it is, but he wasn't talking about that. He's talking about her.
He was talking about her. Yeah.
Right.
No, it's beautiful.
Before we go into that chapter, those chapters, I do want to point out a couple things about this.
Yeah.
So, I also was a big fan of the three Thors. So you've got Young Thor, you've got Avengers Thor, and then you've got the All-Father Thor, who's from the future. Mm-hmm. And All-Father Thor eventually has been through some shit because he is the last living person in Asgard. So the cool thing is, what you two pointed out was he talks to himself, like making fun of young Thors. But in reality, he's actually talking to himself, right? Like not. It's very meta if you think about it, because it's like, you will never get when he says you will never get your father's approval, he's not talking to Avengers Thor. He's talking to himself. And you're like, holy shit, that is deep. Like, in a way that he did it where it's about time travel, but it's really like a character that's still trying to get to know himself. All these thousands of years later. So what I've learned from Thor and Jason Aaron's run, by the way, it's an easy jumping on point, because he reminds us that you don't have to know Shakespearean English, because a lot of the times when I read a lot of the Silver Age Thor, and to an extent a little bit of the Walter Simonson Thor, who had a nice shout out, by the way, in his run. He had a Simonson bar. They tend to use a lot of that these and thous and thines and things like that, and it kind of gets a little confusing. I remember talking to Jess about it. He also wasn't a fan of that stuff, and that's why he couldn't get into Thor. It wasn't until modern Thor that they kind of dropped all that stuff, and then they dropped the whole secret identity angle. Like that is no part of this at all. So it's really interesting. But that's why I think it's so good for like new readers, because you don't really have to know a lot. There's a little bit of stuff, especially when you get to the part of Oklahoma that was part of JMS's run, and then eventually Matt Fraction's run. But I mean, it kind of is all self-explained. But one thing that I did love about this too was the Gorr, right? That's his name, Gorr?
Gorr, yeah, Gorr the God Butcher.
Like, his whole reasoning why he is going after all these gods, because they've all, his whole life, his whole life he was told to pray by his mother, he was told, who got eaten by freaking monsters, and then he was told to pray by his wife, and he lost his wife and kids. He had to bury his own son, and that was like, that's enough. And that's how he gets the powers. He sees two gods fighting, and he was like, well, fuck, I'm gonna kill a god. Damn, that felt good, because they're both of the gods are dying towards the end, and I'll show you the page here. So these two gods were fighting, and they just happened to land, and instead of answering their prayers, they were fighting, and that's when he realizes gods are kind of assholes. So I'm gonna fucking go and kill every single one of them, because I just acquired this new power. And that's where this power comes from, and that's where Thor and gang, all three Thors. Oh my god! And there were so many fuck yes moments in this run.
Oh, like absolutely.
Yes, a lot of those moments.
When all three Thors are on the ship, and the narrative is like, and when the gods of thunder are about to calm down on Gorr, I was like, holy shit, this is epic. I forgot how epic this first run was, because we also get to meet this character that is a god who kind of seems like a nobody. I cannot remember his name. Do you remember his name, ladies?
You talking about the one who always has a different god of something or other?
God of wine, god of feathers, god. Yeah,
he keeps changing his name up. Sandrake or something.
It's weird. Like,
and in the end, he was the god of he was the god of bombs, right? Which played part into the last arc. Yeah, this is the page I was talking about.
He's the one
where all three Thors are coming down with the billion thunder. Oh man, that is so badass. I love
there's
that.
Just so many, like his own, when he kills his second wife, I guess, or his werewolf wife, when she calls him a god, and he's like, "That's not what I like." It's
well, right. That's
his son turns on him. I mean,
his son, who wasn't really his son, it was himself, because in the end, Gorr becomes the god of I guess hypocrisy, right?
Yeah.
Because
he's
the whole time he's a hypocrite. He wants to go and kill all these other gods, but in the end, that's what he ends up becoming. So I thought that was a really cool way of ending it. By the way, the three goddesses, or the thunder goddesses, his granddaughters, super hot. And one of them even had a funny part where she was like, "Oh God, I was thinking weird thoughts about Granddad." She didn't realize it was
I love it. There's quite some humorous moments. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and they're all a little bit different. All his granddaughters are different.
Yeah, so, I like the one that's always like,
age differences.
Violence, let's go, let's do it.
Dude, I'm so done with this. Yeah, you see her at the end, where she's just like, I just want to fight this stuff.
And I can't talk about the story, because I think it gets helped by Azad Ribic's artwork, who has a very, we see a lot of his painted art. He's the artist on Secret Wars. By the way, this was all going on during Avengers, like the first run that we all read in Old Reader, New Readers by Jonathan Hickman.
It's concurrent, right? Because I thought we ended up,
So issue 1 of this was concurrent with that. That's why later on, Lady Thor shows up in Hickvengers Volume 2.
And you're not like, what's going on?
And her name's not Lady Thor, by the way. It is Thor. But Ribic's artwork is very beautiful. It is very...
Yeah.
I guess the way to describe it, it's not finished ink. It's like pencils, like soft pencils.
Yes.
And I think
it just feels really lifelike.
What ends up helping it, though, is the wonderful, wonderful colors.
Oh, I think the colors make it. Mm-hmm.
What I can't even butcher. Eve Scorncina, I guess. Whoever that is, man, because they did a damn good job in the second arc with Ron Garney's artwork. So anyway, that is the first arc. That's God Butcher and God Bomb, and then we get into the second arc. I will let one of these ladies take it away. Who wants to talk about the menacing? Oh wait, no, we talked about the aftermath. Once Upon a Time in Midgard.
Yeah, sorry about jumping in that.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Which goes through, and what I've learned about about Thor, is that he's a caring person. He's down to earth. Yep. He's a badass. He's still discovering himself, and he's a fucking raging alcoholic. Because
if
you ever want his help, like, all you got to do is like, hey man, we got some beer left over. We got some ale. Okay, I'll stay. Like,
drink it out of someone's eye.
Every panel he's about like helping people. He's having a drink with stuff. So that's one thing about Aaron that reminds me a little bit of like Chris Claremont or even Marv Wolfman, is he humanizes these characters as they go on about everyday life. Like he visits somebody that's on death row that's about to get executed. I thought that was really cool because he brings him down. He's a god, and I always had a problem, like most people probably, relating to a god. So I think it's really cool. Right? I think it's really cool, and that's when he goes and visits his main, Jane Foster, who is now
main squeeze,
who now has so cancer. Cute. Like the whole chat with her boyfriend about Thor, or like how Thor's like, "Oh, he likes me." And he's like, "How could he? When you're like this is my ex-boyfriend."
Yeah, of all the people, of course he doesn't like you.
It was cute, just him being like, "Well, what if we tried this? What if we do this? But I could try." Like, she's like, "No, just like leave it. I've got cancer. I'm just gonna die. Like, I'll do my best."
She's accepted her death, and he can't. Yeah.
I thought it was interesting that she did that she chose that route, knowing that she's traveled everywhere with him in past adventures. So I thought that was really admirable. That she's like, "No, I'm gonna fight this here." So I love that about her.
Leighton had asked if we thought that Gorr's origin was kind of generic.
I think it served its, honestly, it served its purpose. It's not an original origin for a motivation for a villain. So,
no,
it was what it was. It was.
I wish what he did with the story made it different, especially with the time switches and everything like that. I think that's what helped make it different. If it was just so straightforward, it probably wouldn't have had as much of effect on us as it did with all the time jumps and stuff.
It was better than like having.
I didn't find it to be...
Go ahead, Maddie. No, go ahead.
I didn't find it to be any less compelling. Despite being a regular, like, okay, I hate gods. I'm going to fight gods. Now I am a god, but I don't want to admit that. And that's a pretty standard thing.
Yeah.
But I think the way he went about a lot of this was really neat.
Too. I think it was better than there's this guy that eats gods and he's really creepy and he wears a cloak. Which is what happened in a lot of Image comic books in the early 90s. But sometimes you don't need an explanation. So I thought it was a little better than that. But kind of, I agree. It's a little generic and probably overplayed, but it served its purpose. So on to issue 13, which is the beginning. This, by the way, was at the time that Thor 2 was coming out, and God bless if you remember Thor 2.
Poor Chris Eccleston.
And the horrible mess that was. But anyway, that's why they were like, "Oh, we got to bring him back. We got to bring back." Well, I will let these ladies.
They didn't do a good job because, so this is the one you mentioned the coloring, how fantastic it is, because this is where I thought they did a great job with the coloring as well.
It's a different artist this time.
Different artist, but the
color is still the same. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So basically, this is our second. It's the Accursed, right? So we have the Dark Elves go to hell basically to free Malekith from his prison because he's been imprisoned by the Allfather before, and he is pretty much hell-bent on taking over his land of Dark Elves, which means that he is killing all of his people. To do so, anyone who stands in his path. So Thor goes to try to stop him, and it doesn't succeed the first time. And then the Council of Worlds, correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, that's fine.
The Council of Worlds, they decide they're going to create a League of Realms, and this is going to be comprised of a representative from all the main folks who live in the different 9 realms. So you have Thor, you have a dark elf who he had saved her life
after he chopped her arm off.
After he chopped her arm off. You have a troll, you have a giant, and you have a light elf. So who shoots these awesome pistols?
Very Fellowship of the Ring.
Yeah, it feels like a very neat D&D party.
Right.
Yes,
yeah.
this is.
You have this nice little elf too. This guy, what's his name? Honeysuckle, whatever his name. Honey Shot, the light elves.
The light elf. So you go from having a very alien, like galaxy type of setting with the first section. This is very mythological, like just everything from when they go to the light elves realm and there's the gingerbread man house and where they drink the ale and there's different types of fairies. So it gets really hardcore into like that fantasy mythological realm. So basically this group, this League of Realms, they have trouble coming together because obviously these different factions never got along to begin with.
By the way, Ray said it was the Congress of Worlds.
Congress of Worlds, thank you. Yes, I appreciate that. And so they're going around, they're trying to find Malekith, but he seems to be beating him at every turn, because basically the Dark Elves the ones who are fleeing from him have taken refuge on different realms. And he's been going to those realms, finding the refugees and killing them, slaughtering his own people. The Dark Elves are a very interesting sort of folk. And so you have this group trying to come together. Thor decides to drink the giant under the table in order to somehow create some kind of a fellowship and bond between all of them. But try as they might, they just can't seem to beat Malekith. And then
I thought that was a pretty cool thing to do. He's like, oh, all these guys aren't getting along. Well, we don't have any of those escape rooms. I guess we'll go out and get drunk.
No team building exercises.
Right.
Yeah, he gets some action on with the Dark Elf, with Saria, I think her name is.
Of course he does. He's Thor.
Which was cool, but it also felt really random when it happened, because it was just like, oh, I have an idea for you, kiss. And I'm like, okay.
That's Thor, I guess.
Guys, this is another realm. I mean, of course that's what's going to happen.
Yeah,
I don't disagree with it. I just think that part could have been written at least a little bit better. Like, that's okay.
Did you want like a deeper backstory? This isn't a love story, Maddie. That's for fan
you
fiction.
Need that. It just felt like forced and weird.
I get it. It was kind of weird. They're just sitting there, and he's like, "Hey, let's make out," and she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Awesome. That's the way life is."
And of course, let's not forget Malekith is a wizard because, and he's the greatest sorcerer, or so he says, which is very important later on in this story. So they're getting fed up. They end up on the Jotunheim, and they're fighting a lot. They're fighting, trying to protect the refugees, and they find out their giant ends up getting killed by Malekith. He enters his body and hacks his brain up.
Awesome.
Insane. And he ends up leading them to his new allies, which are the Frost Giants. And pretty much they retreat, and later on they decide, Thor decides that there is a traitor amongst them.
I love that scene. Yeah,
that is a great scene.
They're all talking amongst themselves, like, who is the traitor? And of course, they're all pointing at the poor Dark Elf because she is one of
Dark Elf
people.
Yeah.
They're like, it's got to be you. And then Thor's like, no, it's Ud, the troll.
It's Ud, the troll.
Wait, but you can't just kill him. And he was like, bullshit, I'm motherfucking Thor. And he drops his hammer on his head and smashes his head, which was like, oh man, Thor is a badass. But
man, when I was reading it though, I was just like, oh shit.
Yeah, that got serious. He just killed the guy.
That for any moment was like, nah, it's fake. I was like, oh man, I guess he's crazy or something. We're gonna figure it out.
He's crazy.
Yes, yeah. And then he takes the Dark Elf to Earth.
He takes him to Midgard, which is like they have a hidden butchery shop apparently. Of course, we have those. Like, if we learn anything from Men in Black, so we have all these little weird places in New York. So that's where a bunch of dark elves. Things. So a bunch of dark elves are hanging out down there, and they have some kind of secret meeting as to what to do with Malekith. So then, of course, his plan comes to fruition. And he was like, "Hey, I lured you here because I knew she was the traitor the whole time, and that's why I banged her." Thor,
and it turns out at the end she wasn't. He was the traitor.
Because he had some kind of pair. Like, I love the way she's like, "Oh, you,"
because he likes to drink too much.
She's like, "You got bugged." Nice.
Good pun.
So that's how they were able to track him. And then Thor's like, "Oh yeah, well I got a trick up my sleeve. The dude isn't dead. That was all magic because I learned from Loki." So nice little trickery there. I thought that was cool.
Nice little trick. And that was some of my favorite scene. I kept rooting for them as they were just kicking butt that whole time, and a lot of the one-liners. It just was very cinematic to me. That entire fight scene. I want to see that happen at some point.
The League. You were rooting for the League
of Realms. I really was. The poor dwarf who got his hand chopped off because it was just apparently the troll thought that was easier than taking the
fuse off. I thought that was pretty cool.
Taking the fuse off. Just a lot of humor in it. And then it all comes to a head. Thor has trapped Malekith, and this council of dark elves. The whole reason Thor brought them there was brought Malekith or led him there was that he thought if he brought him there, it would force his council to make a decision on what they were going to do. And what did they decide to do? They decide to make Malekith their king.
Yeah.
And boy, that shocked the hell out of me.
Well, not just you, not all the readers.
Thor.
Yeah.
Thor's like, wait. Like, we just lost some people. Lots of elves died. How you motherfuckers gonna make him your boss? And then he was like, okay, well then you're gonna be served. Like, you're gonna go down back to the pit that we found you in because you have to serve time. And she was like, then the dark elf, she was like, no, I'll go in his stead because it's the right thing to do. Because we're finally thank you for remembering her name. We're finally uniting all the dark elves, and of course, and that's where it ends. But we have an epilogue that is foreshadowing this long game that Jason Aaron is playing that is finally coming.
Awesome.
Like, it's
April,
been
right?
5 years in the making. War of the Realms has been hinted at since his first arc in this. So War of the Realms is now the ongoing crossover event that's starting in April. Yeah. Pretty excited about that. And Jason Aaron is the architect behind that. So here's a quick little map of Asgard, the way Jason Aaron sees it. Pretty cool.
The world tree. Mm-hmm.
And that takes us to our last and final arc. No, wait. There is a little inner. I love these little stories, which is kind of sad and
that poor dragon.
Well, that's what happens when you drink too much, Amanda. You make mistakes, right?
It really does teach you life lessons about do not drink because it can be detrimental.
That was a bummer.
Except in one ear, out the other with Thor, because he's like, fuck it, I'm going to drink again. So,
well, for him, it seems to work out.
Thor wakes up drunk inside of the stomach of a dragon, and the dragon spits him out, and it turns out that they were friends. And then the dragon's like telling his dad, nah, man, the fucking humans are cool, dude. I'm gonna go hang out with them. Dad's like, you're a punk little bitch, man. And the dragon's like, watch, I'm gonna go hang out with the humans. And he goes and gets drunk. Dad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, whatever, Dad. I ain't listening. Humans are cool. So the dragon, without Thor, goes and gets drunk in the city. And then they call Thor back going, hey, man, you need to come and get your boy. And what happened was the dragon had gotten so drunk that he started burning the village down and just drinking all the ale, eating all the food, and he accidentally took one of these ladies out for a dance, and I guess he was a little too rough with her, and he killed her. And Thor's like, man, dude,
then he bit her head off.
He's like, how am I going to even explain that? And the dragon's like, man, she smells pretty good. I'll just eat her head. And Thor's like, oh, okay, let's still talk about it. Maybe I can still save you. But the dragon wouldn't stop, man. And I feel like I'm reading a children's story when I read this issue about lessons.
It was, it's a children's story that's a little bit more graphic than what you probably should.
Little fable at the end.
It is.
Don't drink and fuck with fucking gods, because you will get your ass beat and killed. So that was sad. And then that takes us to now. By the way, these two hardcovers and the omnibus will not collect the, I believe it's issues 24.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, and 0.5, which is kind of retconning the story of what's her face, Angela from Spawn, when they brought her over to the Marvel universe. They're trying to make her,
because I don't like her.
Well, yeah,
she checks off all my boxes of something I would like in a character, but I'm just not on board with Angela.
Is it the way she looks? Because she was created by Neil Gaiman, right? So that was the whole thing. Neil Gaiman and Todd McFarlane created this character. So for the longest time, and I mean decades, Todd McFarlane was not allowed to print that issue number 9 in any of his collections.
Yeah.
Up until recently, when the lawsuit came through, and then Neil Gaiman finally owned the rights to Angela, and of course Neil Gaiman doesn't give a shit. He sold it to Marvel, and Marvel was like, "Oh my God, we got the rights to Angela. We're gonna put her in Guardians of the Galaxy. She's gonna be the breaking star." Brian Michael Bendis got to write her. Then they were like, "I don't know what we're gonna do to make her cooler. Let's make her Thor's sister."
I thought that was a bad move.
Anyway,
I don't know about that.
So these particular hardcovers, and I seriously doubt the omnibus, when it ever comes out, will not collect any of that.
That's fine. Although I like Lady Loki though, so that's fun to see.
Yeah.
Well, that is Loki though.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Loki himself.
Well, yeah, I know that. I like when Loki is a lady.
Yeah, me too.
And there's a moment when Odin. Well, we'll get to that.
Okay. By the way, one of my favorite things that I forgot to talk about in the first arc is that God, like my favorite scene, I forgot, is when he picks up both of the hammers to kill the villain. He takes old Thor's hammer, his hammer, and he's smashing the shit out of the villain, right? But then not only that, and everybody starts praying for him. Even Odin. That was the coolest part I forgot to talk about.
Yes,
even Odin is like, I believe in you, son. I hear my prayer. Like that part right there. Yep. I'm like, oh man, that's beautiful. Yeah, that's cool. Be the savior to us all. Anyway, back to this. The final arc. Ladies, which one of you two want to talk about?
Yep, I can start off.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so this one, and I apologize because when I narrate and I summarize, it's not as specific as other people. It's very like, here's the gist. So basically, we start off, and he goes to help out Roz. So Roz is, that's how I pronounce her name, right? Roz.
Yeah, Roz Solomon. Yeah.
So she is an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D., and she's introduced earlier in the comics where Thor is like her date to her graduation from S.H.I.E.L.D. Academy, and he keeps hitting on her. But, like, nothing's happened because she's like, okay, well, I guess since you're here, help me with this. And so she's on an underwater mission, and she kind of gets stuck. And Coulson's like, just call your boyfriend. She's like, what? What do you mean? He's not my boyfriend. And then Thor shows up and helps. So these two kind of, like, end up helping each other out against Roxon Corporation because they're doing a lot of shady environmental shit, just like a lot of modern corporations as well. So it's kind of a bummer to read this one. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, it is.
I don't even know how Roxon is still like around in Marvel. Like they've been doing this shit since the 70s. Come on, guys, put them out of business.
I guess
already.
The legal team is too good.
Yeah, clearly.
I love the villain. He's like, I could pay anybody $1 million, $1 trillion. I'm like, how much money do these fucking people have?
They can't be that rich.
Eventually, we're gonna run out of Bitcoin.
Never.
So basically, like the point of this arc for that storyline with the present era Thor is that he and Roz are working together to bring down Roxon because they're doing a lot of awful things to the Earth, and they know that like it's just going to destroy Earth itself. So a lot of pollution. Roxon is deliberately introducing invasive species to kill other species, so that way like everyone just have to buy their meat. And their poultry and everything else from Roxon. So doing a lot of those things. So there's a lot of back and forth where Roz is like, we have to do this the legal way. And Thor's like, no, I'm going to do it my way. And it doesn't make anything better. So he uses lightning to destroy a lot of the like factories and like headquarters for Roxon. And it's an act of God. So insurance company won't cover it, which I love. I love that. But then they just build it bigger and better and up in the sky and pollutants and all of that, and Thor is really stuck because he's not really sure the best way to deal with it, and he just wants to Thor use hammer good, and it's not the best way to do it. So at the same time when they're going through this, we cut to Allfather, Thor Allfather, so which is my favorite part. So Thor's because the way they switch back is so good, especially at the end, which we'll get to. But Jason Aaron does such a good job at switching at the right moments between the two stories, which I really appreciate. That's not an easy thing to do, to know like when's the most emotionally impactful time to switch over and deal with the same themes. But you know, Thor's really he's old, he's still alone basically, but he has his granddaughters, and he always makes the visit to Midgard. And that's part of his lore is that he always goes back to Midgard. He always goes back to Earth. And when we start out with this story, he goes back to Earth and there's nothing there. It's all destroyed. And he talks about how he wished that he had done more because he just sat around and watched as Earth destroyed itself. Which we're seeing with the present day Thor, is that the Earth is just destroying itself and there's not much he can do. So he's back at Earth and he runs into Galactus. And so even though this Earth is already dying, you know, according to his granddaughters, not all of them, it's not worth saving. There's no point to be here. Even Galactus is like, why are you even here? Like, he's, you know, Thor's like, well, I am Earth's god and I will always be here. And Galactus is like, well, you know, this planet has somehow like gotten in my way at every turn and I'm finally going to destroy it and you're not going to be in the way of me, but it wouldn't be as fun if I wasn't killing somebody, you know, while I was eating this planet. There's a lot of back and forth with that. And then present-day Thor is just a bunch of Roxon back and forth, but it ultimately ends with that town's at Roxon. What's it called?
Yeah. Roxon, Oklahoma.
Which is his town. That's his town that he's always been very close to, that he's protected.
That's where Asgard decided
Asgard's over top of it.
Yeah. That was during JMS's run. Like, he was like, okay, we're gonna put Thor right on top of this city in Oklahoma. Sure.
So Roxon spins it that Roxon gets destroyed because of the Asgardians. That they were the ones that destroyed everything and destroyed the town. Which really, it's Roxon and its leader, who's also a Minotaur sometimes, like a devil guy. So, for whatever reason that is, I don't know what it is.
Like some Minotaur.
At least it wasn't just some guy in a suit. I was happy that he could punch him, because that guy.
Yeah, because what was the story? So
nerves.
Dario Ager, he's from Greece,
that's
him. And basically his parents were killed by pirates, and he escaped. And was hiding out in a cave. And when they found him, he was praying to a Minotaur god and became a Minotaur. Cool. I think is the gist of it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And what he did with that whole putting Roxon over top of Roxton, Oklahoma, was a way to get back at Thor. The only way he knew how. And Omar, I would love for you to show the scene where his lawyers serve Thor with paperwork saying that he's been served with the lawsuit, because Thor's face, like the utter shock, his eyes, like the way they drew it, his eyes were like, what? Like complete shock. And, but that's how they do it. And how can he combat that?
I will try to find it for you, and I will let you know when I find it, because I know what page you're talking about, because Thor's like, what the fuck? Like, how are you going to serve me with papers? I'm Thor. Put this damn hammer through you.
I'm above your law.
Yeah, well, you saw what happened to his lawyers, too.
Yeah. Clearly, there's no reward for loyalty to Mr. Minotaur. That's for damn sure.
Yeah,
we want to jump to the end, I guess.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of this part.
Here is the page that Amanda was talking about, and the panel is right here with Thor's what the fuck face.
I can't have that. That's funny.
Do you all know who I am? What I have done for this planet? Anyway.
Yes. All right, Maddie, keep going.
Okay. So at the end, of course, our Avengers Thor ends up probably winning against Roxon. Everything's still destroyed, but he kind of helps in his own way, and the Asgardians have to leave. But there's a really good bit right at the end that I love. It's my favorite part of this whole entire Jason Aaron run that I've read so far, where both Thors are fighting at the same time and switching back and forth each panel. And it's so good.
That is beautiful. Can you find that, Omar?
Yeah, can you bring that up? I need the physical copies of these. I feel like it'd be easy to be like, and then there's this.
Yes.
Instead I have to look through on my tablet, can I find it?
Yeah, sure. He's fighting Ulik the Troll, which is one of those Thor villains. Mm-hmm. And then the All-Father Thor is fighting Galactus, just punching a damn hole through his face. Along with his granddaughters, by the way, who
come to help. Gotta love those ladies. They are just family women. They are dedicated, man.
I think they just like fighting.
Well, that's true too.
Important to mention that towards the end, in order to defeat Galactus, Thor leaves and goes and gets the Necro Sword, which is the same power used by the Butcher.
Yes.
Still gods.
So they bring everything back around.
And so he goes to get that to defeat him. And it's,
and then he becomes Necro Thor.
It's so good.
Thor the Destroyer.
And at the end, he brings life back to Earth, and that's great.
With his god blood. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I thought that this right here is what these ladies are talking about. So he bleeds, and very pretty. And his granddaughters are like, damn, Grandpa, that's kind of cool.
Yes.
So, then the last days of Midgard, Thor is kind of you see the very human side of Thor here is when he realizes he's lost, right? He's lost the city that he swore to protect, and his mom's having a nice little talk with him, and he has a nice little talk with Jane. He wants her to become some kind of the human representative in the Congress of Asgard.
Yes.
And so he takes flight, and then he leaves them with one final gift. He gives them his own
his own
place
castle.
of living, right? So he was like, "Here you go, guys. I'm sorry, all your homes got fucked up, but here's my big ass castle. Have fun with this." And I thought that was really cool. But I like how defeated he is because he realizes he can't do anything because that's the way human law works sometimes. So, and of course, everything is we still get these little epilogues of Malekith and whatever's going to happen.
Yep.
I love these because, like I said, he's playing the long game. Kind of like it reminded me a lot of
that.
Reminded me a lot of the way Jeff Johns set up Green Lantern all the way to Blackest Night. Like he knew where he was going, and so does Aaron. So we get this little nice Galactus like talking to somebody, and then eventually, I guess, getting killed by whatever this creature was, which we'll find out later on. The Butcher of Worlds is born, and then we get the final issue, which is the Tales of Thunder. Now, this is kind of like a combination of two artists. One of them being Simon Beasley, one of my favorite UK artists, and then I cannot remember who did the first part, and then Ribic did the main part with the 3 granddaughters. Do y'all want to talk a little bit about this? Then we can take it to the chat.
Yeah, sure. So they're in the library again, which is the library that we've seen a lot throughout this run, where they learn about the Library of All-Knowing or something like that.
Yes,
right?
yeah, that's what it is, yeah.
And his granddaughters are there looking through all the stories about everything. And they find this book kind of just shows up on their table, which is interesting. It's just a chained book. And it's not like they look for it. It just kind of like drops down. And they start to read through it, and it's about Jane Foster Thor that now we know. But at the time, it's a female Thor, right? And they close it, and Thor comes in like, "You're not going to read that. That's not going to happen." And it's like the unworthy Thor. And so it's about Thor's unworthy years, which kind of hints at what's to come. Because we know now that's followed by unworthy Thor, where he can't hold Mjolnir anymore.
Yes.
So,
I mean, the last page of the hardcover is him trying to lift it, and he cannot because he is now unworthy.
Did that come out during Dark World with that picture of Chris Hemsworth right there? On your
this was the variant movie cover that was going around everywhere because that's what Marvel does. Like whenever the movies come out.
Yeah.
So we also get a little bit of origin of Malekith, how he came to be.
Yes. Interesting origin story for him.
And then I get what will later on play part this little story about the skull, the frost giant skull. So all of this will come into play later on, by the way, when you read it. So the next place you go is Thor. Adjectiveless Thor, and that has a total of 3 volumes before that gets revamped into his 3rd and final arc, which is the Mighty Thor. So there you have it. That is what did you ladies think? What would you rate Thor God of Thunder?
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10. Wow,
I loved it. Although there were some arcs I didn't like as much as others. I didn't like the second arc as much as I liked everything else.
The second arc.
I don't care about Malekith.
The Accursed, yeah.
Oh, I love that arc, but
I appreciate it for what it is, and I still like it. But I was so into everything else, and so when this change happened, I was like, okay, like I don't want this right now. I want my boys.
To get out of that, right? No, I understand that.
Yeah, so I think it rubbed me the wrong way, and I think it'll be fine once it comes back because I know that's coming back and it's part of the overall story line of this. I didn't like that one as much. But I still give it a 10 out of 10 because I loved it so much, so it's fine.
Wow. Okay. What about you, Amanda? What would you give it?
I give it a 10 out of 10. I absolutely loved this entire thing. I wouldn't want to read more Thor. And The Accursed was like my favorite. And I don't know why. Maybe it's just the fantasy aspect of it, or maybe it's all the double crossing and the tricks and everything like that they played. And I just enjoed it so much. And I like to see Malekith done right and not the tragedy that was the movie.
Yeah, that was bad.
It was bad. I was like, that's a badass Malekith. Why did they do that? He's awesome. Like, he's such a cool character. He could, and I can't wait to see what War of Realms has to offer us.
It was nice to see him back because he was one of those Walter Simonson characters that I really enjoyed. So him coming back and being like that, and of course it was all due to the movie, right? I'm sure the editors were like, hey, Thor 2's coming out. They're going to have Malekith in it. You got to bring him back. And Jason Aaron's like, sure. Oh, this guy? Okay, cool. I'll make him into a wizard. But anyway, I thought it was really cool. And I think I would give the first arc a 9 out of 10. Because I did not like the Roxon stuff. I thought that was really boring and it kind of slowed the pace down. But when you were saying, it's like he did a really good job of mixing, going back and forth. And I think to me, he did a really good job because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so bored of all these suits and these lawyers. Oh, cool. Yeah. All-Father Thor. Good. I get to read about that.
Yeah, the All-Father Thor part was the best part of that whole arc.
Oh, I agree. Because let's face it, corporations are boring to begin with.
Yeah, it was boring. I felt bummed for him.
Well, it was just like
Roz was great.
Like my problem with the run, right? Like, and this is just a small little gripe, is you started off with a god killer, right? You begin your arc with a god killer, and to me, like, logically, that might be where you want to go instead of like, but you end the arc with, "Hey, you can't do anything to us because we have lawyers." Just doesn't have the same effect, you know. But don't get me wrong, I still loved it. I thought it was great. And I can't wait for you two to dive into the Jane Foster years because they're really good. Actually, that one kind of made me tear up, the last arc of that storyline, but it was really good. So there we have it. We have a 10, 10, and a 9. So everybody go out and get it. We'll leave the link in the descriptions for where you can purchase it, or you can purchase the upcoming collection. Or if you want to wait for the inevitable omnibus that's coming out, you're more than welcome to wait. Sledge just did not join us for this one. He joined us last week for what the hell did we talk about? Deadly Class. Deadly Class. Deadly Class.
Oh my gosh, how'd you forget already? It's only been a week.
I am working on very little sleep. So yes, Jess joined us last week. So if there's any comments or questions in the chat, we'd love to know what you guys think we should read. I have please leave
you
those.
Had a suggestion, right?
I do have a suggestion, and if you can't join us live, we still like to hear from you guys. Please don't forget to leave those comments down below, and hit that like button too. I have a suggestion. I think we should take it back to DC, something a little light, and I'm trying to think of the perfect Wonder Woman jumping on point. Maddie, have you read any of the New 52 stuff? The Brian
I've read all of it.
Okay, well, never mind. And I know you read Greg Rucka. Yeah,
but I'd love to read Rucka again, though. I think it's the best jumping on point for Amanda. Rucka's work.
Like the Rebirth Wonder Woman or the original Rucka? The
original. Although Rebirth Wonder Woman's really good. I do recommend it. But I think either Rucka or, honestly, the Wonder Woman Earth one is really good because it's standalone.
Big O, by the way, love that username. We have read God Country probably about what do you ladies think?
2 months ago or something?
It was like three or 4 months ago, probably.
Was it November? No, was it September?
I don't know. We did that and Day Tripper at the same time.
Together, we did,
Which we probably will not do again. We'll probably just focus on one book at a time. That was kind of a one-time deal. So the next book, we should focus just on one thing. Justice League International. Holy shit. Maddie would love that because that's the beginning of Booster and Blue.
Yeah.
And Maxwell Lord.
Why we need to read Infinite Crisis.
Hey, we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yep.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. So how about for next week? We'll take it back to DC. We are gonna do a Sandman readathon. I think that's gonna be
I got a lot of Sandman to read.
That's gonna be one of those big assignments. So we can kind of read that as we're reading something else small. So how about I was thinking of taking it back to Batman. And
I did see. I'm excited to read some Batman.
Year 2, not year 2. I'm the only one that likes year 2. Long Halloween. That is Jeff Loeb and Tim Sell's 12-issue maxi series, kind of a follow-up to their little Halloween, the Haunted Night stories that they did. But the Long Halloween is kind of what ended up retconning year 2. So year 2 is no longer in canon. Now it's Long Halloween. That stands as the Batman year 2. So that's what we're going to go back and read. Now, oh God, I should do Usagi Yojimbo. That would be great. And I haven't started reading Judge Dredd. I need to, because I'm like the new reader when it comes to Judge Dredd.
We'd all be new readers.
So yes, Furquan, there's only 5 OHCs right now for Jason Aaron Thor. The 5th one's coming out in May, and that is the last part of his 2nd story arc. Unworthy Thor has never been collected in oversized hardcover, so that's why my dumbass is gonna double dip and buy the omnibus because we know that's gonna be included in there whenever that comes out. That has not been solicited. I'm not starting any fake news. I was just letting you guys know that we know it's coming.
Yes.
So Long Halloween, hell yeah, great choice. Thank you. And then what about the following week? Why don't you two ladies pick or pick from?
Do you want to do something? Go to independent, or do you want to?
I picked Long Halloween, and that will be for next Tuesday, the 29th.
Do we want to do something that's finished, or?
Yeah.
Sure. Why don't you two ladies pick something for the 5th?
Sure.
Yeah.
It's hard to decide an independent that's not that's finished.
There's a lot.
I go to ongoing stuff like Paper Girls or Lumberjanes.
Oh yeah, which I've read Lumberjanes Volume 1.
I will be the new reader on Lumberjanes. You two can be the old readers.
I'd be fine with that.
We'll do that soon. Let's see. We have Saga's supposed to go on break.
I mean that might be an okay one to read up on since it's on hiatus.
And that one's a quick read, honestly. That reads quick.
And I would love to read that because I have yet to.
Let me see when the third.
Someone said Lazarus, which I was hoping to get for Christmas and did not.
See, I want to do Lazarus, but Lazarus isn't finished yet, and the third hardcover just got solicited, and it comes out I think in July. Same thing with Saga. I forgot Saga. The third hardcover before they go on hiatus comes out in May. I want to say. So I was thinking maybe we should wait for that. Paper Girls is coming to an end.
Fables?
Holy shit. That's 150 issues.
Yeah, it'll take a while.
Yeah, it would take us a while.
Before.
I was trying to think of what I got.
That's before my comic book days.
Oh man, Velvet would be good. That's a good suggestion. Who suggested that?
Felix.
I love Velvet. No, wait. Is it Lazarus is good too.
Too many to count, scoundrel. How many books does Omar have? Too many. I don't know if he ever counted.
Wait,
have you counted?
And my bad. Fatale is over. It's Lazarus is what I was thinking about. How many books does Omar have comic wise? A lot. Probably too many. Wildcats 3.0. Oh my god, I love that run. I'm glad somebody pointed that out. Most people overlook that because of the name Wildcats. That shit was good. Felix said do a double feature with Long Halloween and Dark Victory. How about we will do that if these ladies get finished with that. I don't want to rush it because it's a 12 issue, but they're I don't know, they could. They're really fast readers. They're faster readers.
12 issues?
Yeah, they're faster readers than I am. I mean, we knocked out an omnibus in a week. We knocked out 2 omnis 2 weeks in a row, and it was Jonathan Hickman, and that shit is dense.
That is super dense. So much dialogue.
Maddie,
so
love that.
Scientific dialogue. Maddie's like, nope.
I need to go back to see what you gave it. I can't remember. But that was one.
I think she gave it a good score.
Oh, thank you for watching our
Ollie's Thanks.
We're gonna be doing some more graphic novel hunting sometime. At least once a month is what we plan on doing.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going? Amazing Murfinator. That's an awesome name.
That is. All right, so we figure out what we're going to do after Long Halloween. You want to do Velvet or Fatale?
I have a super crush on the main chick in Velvet, so we can do Velvet.
Let's do Velvet.
Yeah, let's do Velvet.
All right,
that sounds good to me.
Velvet it is.
Congrats, Felix. Thanks for the recommendation.
Wait, did he also suggest that? Because wasn't he the one that suggested Long Halloween? Damn. Okay.
Felix is the one who said do a double feature with Dark Victory.
Okay, yeah, I think it was him. I know Ray's gonna be pissed off because he's on every show and he's like, nobody takes my damn suggestions.
Sorry, Ray.
Comic guys in the house. Ollie's forever. I think that's a bumper sticker on Amanda's car.
And it is my bumper sticker right next to my Planet Fitness.
We need to take a road trip to that second in Charles that just opened up in our state.
What? We have a second in Charles?
Where?
In Owensboro. Let's go get barbecue and go second in Charles.
Owensboro.
Man, the deals.
Are we gonna get Moonlight Barbecue? I'm all for that.
No,
crazy deals.
Maddie knows where the good barbecue is. That's where all the vacationers go. Is Moonlight.
Well, that's where anybody we go for our meetings.
Anybody that knows Owensboro goes to the little other spots that is better.
Yeah.
Okay, so JLI is better. You are correct, Make Havoc. I'm not going to argue with you.
Hickman is king. Better. We're not going to lie, but it was a rough run.
Hickman is solid, but these,
it was rough for a new reader. Let's just say, I mean, yeah. Or maybe for everyone.
I don't know.
I had fun with Hickman's. I think his Fantastic Four is a lot better. And that's another run I wanted to do was Wade and Ringo's Fantastic Four, because I think it's a really good new reader book.
Yes, I would love to read that.
That you all would love it.
Because I read Hickman's Fantastic Four and I loved that, so I figured Wade should be good too.
It's one of those little corners of comic books I never got into, and much love back to you, Ray. Always.
Yes, we love you, Ray.
But people have been trying to get me to read them for a long time, so I always ask where a good reading point is, because in America they're not all available. But it's not that bad if you import them from overseas. Okay, so for March 29th, we are going to be talking
January
about...
January 29th.
Sorry. Shit, I was already thinking about my birthday month.
Way
for
ahead.
January 29th of 2019, we are going to be talking about The Long Halloween, Batman The Long Halloween, which is Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's masterful, even though they retcon my fucking favorite Batman story, but that's okay. And then on February 5th, we are talking about Velvet. So please read along with us. We'd love for you guys to join in the chat and tell us your thoughts too. And that's all I have to say. What about you, ladies? Anybody got anything else to say?
No. Thank you, everyone, for watching. We appreciate it as always. Glad you could join us on this journey through Thor, which was phenomenal. Make sure you... Yeah, go ahead.
Good luck, comic guy. He is in urgent care, or he just got out of urgent care. So good luck, buddy.
Yeah. Hope you feel better soon or get well soon.
And thank you, everybody, for joining us. I'm sorry, man. I interrupted you.
No, you're okay. And yes, hopefully we'll do Superior Spider-Man Brandon soon, because I'm a huge Spider-Man fan. And yeah, so we will hopefully do that soon. But anyways, thank you, everyone, for watching. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and hit that bell so you can get notifications when new content comes up on the channel. Don't forget to follow us on all social media channels at NearMintCon. And remember, if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. Have a great night, everyone, and we will see you next week with Long Halloween. Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.